This is How to Cut It in the Hairdressing Industry podcast show with Dom Lehane, episode number 147.
Welcome to How to Cut It in the Hairdressing Industry podcast. The show that gives you the insights, inspirations, and information to take your hairdressing and barbering careers to the next level. And here's your host, Dom Lehane.
Hey, and welcome back to How to Cut It in the Hairdressing Industry podcast, the UK and Ireland's #1 hair industry podcast since 2017. Brought to you by Hairy Media Productions, this is the podcast that gives you the insights, inspirations, and information that's going to help take your hairdressing and barbering careers to the next level. And we do this by bringing onto the show industry leaders, rising stars, digital influencers, and those from the creative, fashion, and media industries. My name's Dom Lehane, and today I'm in the company of Ashleigh Hodges, hitting burnout, pressing reset. And here's a taster of what you can expect.
By the end of 2017, I'd just come back from working in Milan, and a couple of weeks later, I hit my complete low and had a full breakdown.
So there is a little snippet of what is coming up in this podcast today. Ashleigh Hodges is a hairdresser that I have been following for a very, very long time. We actually come from the same town in Northampton, in the Midlands in England. So watching Ashleigh progress in her hairdressing career has been something that I've been really proud to see her do. And it really started when I saw Ashleigh become a member of the Fellowship Fame team. And it blew me away because here was a girl working in her mother's salon in Towcester, Northamptonshire. And to suddenly see her in this setup with a fellowship was just like, wow, this is great. Look at Ashleigh. How has she got there? Well, she has just gone on to become a really respected name in our industry. She's now a ambassador for Davines. She's the Fellowship for British Hairdressing's new chancellor. She is really done so much. And today we are going to be having a real get to know Ashleigh story. We're going to learn about her starts, but what we're going to take away from this podcast today is something that I think may really be important for so many of you to listen to, because we're going to understand how Ashleigh's ambitions, goals, and her drive to really succeed in the hair industry, which she has done, but it's come with problems. And it came with the problem of actually hitting burnout, and that led to mental health illness for her. And she had to really take stock. She looked at her well-being and she hit that reset button. And she's going to lead us on from that. And she's going to talk us right on to where she is right now. So without further ado, I'm delighted to bring on to the podcast, Ashleigh Hodges.
Hi, Dom. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm delighted, as I just said there. I've known you for a long time. We go back.
I know.
So much has happened to you.
So much has happened to me.
Well, can you remember, actually, Ashleigh, I'm going to put a link in the show notes for our listeners, but we'd done a Hair Club Live video with you back in about 2013, Young Guns of Hair.
I know. I think it was literally, I hadn't long come out of the Fame team. So yeah, I was like a proper baby within the hair industry at the time.
It's still out there on Vimeo. It still looks really, really cool. We were up in
I haven't looked back at it for years, but I remember it was done at my friend's art studio, ASIN. And that studio still blows me away.
Yeah. This is in Northampton, by the way, listeners, if you're wondering where we talk about. I think it was a Jeffrey West used below there, didn't they? The shoe company and upstairs. Yeah. And it was just such a cool video. So go and check this video out. I think you'll still like it, Ashleigh. And big shout out to Neil Shelby Long, who done that. It was good. But yeah, we kind of identified you as a rising star right back then. And, you've done the Fame team, we know. And you haven't disappointed us.
Thanks, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, you haven't. You've gone mad. So we're going to learn so much about what you're doing, your role, as well as a big subject today, Ashleigh, is a little bit about burnout. And I think it's a subject that I think could be great for our listeners. So before we go into all that, learn about your roles and everything that you've experienced, just give us a bit of a heads up to you as a hairdresser and where you are right now.
Okay, me as a hairdresser. So right now I'm a colour ambassador for Davines, working really closely with Tom Connell on all of the collections and show work, etc. I'm a totally freelance hairdresser. I went freelance a couple of years ago, and for me personally, it was the best thing that I did. I was brought up within a family salon, so in a roundabout way, I've kind of always been freelance. I've kind of always had that flexibility to kind of go off and do what it is that I feel like I needed to.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, so it's almost that free. It is literally that free reign of being a freelance. What you like? Yeah,
totally. I the thing that I enjoy most about my career within the industry and our industry as a whole is there are so many avenues and so many things that you can dabble in and try, and I'm pretty sure I've tried the majority of stuff throughout my career so far, and I'm 30 this year, but I've tried like fashion week, TV, brand work, show work. Literally, I've given everything a go.
It is mental what you've done. And you are, like I say, 30 and so much achieved. And that must come from somebody very early on, Ashleigh. And that's what I want to sort of really know about you, your ambitions, your goals. Has goals always been big for you in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, so not so much now, but when I first started, I'm a very A-type personality, and I run on kind of like a high anxiety, which I've learned a lot about myself over the last few years, that I can look back now and see how I was kind of going through my life, sort of thing. But yeah, like even at school, I liked to be that teacher's pet, even in the most non-annoying way.
Yeah, of course, yeah. You're a pleaser. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah. My brother would probably say that I am annoying, but I'm a typical hairdresser in the sense that I like to please people, and it's something I've had to learn to kind of rein in at certain points for myself, for sure.
Why have you had to rein that in?
Oh, because it's not. Sometimes you're pleasing people to just make yourself feel good. Like, you can't please someone without feeling good. So the more you please someone, the more self-worth you end up giving yourself. And if you're basing all your self-worth on pleasing others, it's not going to lead to true enjoyment.
That's really interesting. I think that's so. What you're almost talking about there, if I'm being completely honest, it's almost feeding a little bit of an ego within us all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's always a battle within everyone. We all, like, as much as people try to say they don't have an ego, everyone has an ego. It just depends how much you feed into your ego. You have your ego, and then you have your authentic self, and it's trying to balance the two of them.
Yeah, and I think that's really perfect in how we're going to go on in this, and you know how it's sort of led that drive in you, probably, as you just said, that self-worth and feeling good, and that the goals, and probably. Has it been important for you to make a mark in the industry?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I started working in a salon at the age of 11.
11?
So, yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't child labour. It was my choice.
A sweatshop.
slight child labour, maybe. Yeah. My mum's a hairdresser, and we used to live in Kent, and when we moved to Northampton, my brother and I started to get old enough to go to school. Started to get old enough to go to secondary school, I should say. And my mum decided she wanted to get back into hairdressing and back into kind of, I suppose, I'm not a mum, but from my friends that are and things, she kind of wanted to go from being a mum back to being a real person, if you so to speak, get back into what she was into. So she went back to the salon, and that kind of left me on a Saturday either going to football with my dad and my brother on a Saturday morning, or going to the salon with my mum. And obviously I chose going to the salon with my mum. And as an 11-year-old, it was really exciting for me to go work in the salon, and I'd shampoo people's hair. And I mean, I worked from like 8:30 till 5:30 every day.
Did you?
So
really?
it was longer than a school
with your
day.
mother.
Oh, it was all my choice.
Yeah,
and I would get paid a £5. My mum would then give me another £5, and every single week I could top my phone up. So as an 11-year-old, that's all you really need, is to top your phone up, chat to your mates, and go have fun with some women. So
that is so inspirational just to hear that, really. I think already you just wanting to work and being involved in the environment that you love, but also a goal to, just achieve some money so you can go and top up your phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, my parents are amazing, and they instilled very early on that if you want anything in life, you have to work for it. And even if it was down to topping up my phone, I had to go and work for it to get that.
Yeah, well, that's obviously been good for you. It's a good grounding, isn't it? I think that's something that we should all have, really, not to have anything too easy, because we probably do live in a world where maybe some people do have it quite easy. They don't appreciate the real work ethic that you've got to go out and get these things if you want those things. So you became part, like, say, your mum's salon. Did you stay there as a full-time, right? So you left school, worked at your mum's salon?
I left school. I originally was going to stay on till sixth form because, like I said, I'm a bit of a nerd. So I'd done well in school and got. Yeah, I'm a proper geek. And I'd done well in school, got good grades, and everyone was telling me to stay on to sixth form. But all I wanted to do was be a hairdresser. So my mum kind of pulled me to one side and said, Ash, if this is what you want to do, you just have to jump headfirst into it. There's no point in wasting 2 years of your life continuing at school if this is what you want to aim for. And so yeah, that's what I did. I was like, okay, fine. So I cancelled my application for sixth form and just left and went to work for my mum. And I worked there until 2016.
I'd heard about you because, again, being a hairdresser in the same county. But what blew me away suddenly, and what made me think, Ashleigh Hodges is in the fame team.
Yeah, I know.
From your, because you were still based at your mum's salon at this point, weren't you?
I was, yeah. Nobody knew who I was in the industry when I got onto the fame team. So basically, when I was 14, I got taken to a show in Northampton with Errol Douglas, but with my mum and the rest of the salon team, and just got absolutely blown away. And obviously, because I'd been in the salon since I was 11, when I did leave school, I kind of jumped through my apprenticeship so quickly because I'd spent years already learning it all. I mean, my mum and I would lay in bed on a Sunday morning and she would talk me through colour formulations and things like that. And so my upbringing was hairdressing. So as soon as I left school, I was going to get my apprenticeship really just to get the papers to say I was qualified so I could legally do hair. So as soon as I qualified, I was just looking for new ways to learn things. And Errol was the most incredible hairdresser to me at that time. And I mean, obviously he still is amazing. I can still remember the models, they were all dressed in Alexander McQueen. And I literally just remember looking at it, just being like, I want to do this. This is amazing.
Yeah, that's why our shows are so great, aren't they? And that's why we should always get engaged in actual live shows. I mean, here we are in the world of isolation and live streams. I mean, they're brilliant, but you still can't beat that impact, can you, Ashleigh,
no,
of a
totally.
live show? And that obviously drew you in, and that set off a spark for you.
Yeah, 100%. And I always knew, even working in, because I worked in 3 salons with my mum, 2 salons before she had her own salon. And every salon I worked in, even leading up to her having her own salon, I knew I didn't want to only be behind the chair. And that's no disrespect to anyone that works only behind the chair, because I take my hat off, and it's hard work working behind the chair all the time, pleasing clients. And actually being in isolation right now, I'm missing that part of my role. But I just knew that I needed, because of how driven I am personality wise, I needed to be doing so much more stuff.
Right. Okay. And that by more stuff means what? So you're not talking about behind a chair. What's that more stuff that you're talking about?
Well, I think if I think back to kind of 18-year-old Ashleigh, I just kind of knew the industry had so much to offer, and I just wanted to try it all, which actually now looking back, I've attempted anyway. But yeah, I phoned Errol Douglas. In the February, I'd phoned his salon. I got so nervous. My weekly blow dry on the Wednesday, I'd always do a weekly blow dry at 3:00 on the Wednesday. And bless her, she came in for a blow dry and I was so shaky. And she's like, "Why are you shaking?" I was like, "Because I've just phoned Errol Douglas." And I mean, she has no idea who Errol Douglas was.
Yeah, it would have no meaning no disrespect to Errol, one of the most famous hairdressers in the world, but to a lot of the, Joe the public.
My 75-year-old weekly blow dry has absolutely no idea who Errol Douglas was. But she made me breathe through it and calm down so that I could phone him again in case he missed my call.
So you called Errol, and I mean, this is, it's become a bit more talked about now, people getting in touch with, leading hairdressers. I know on our How to Cut It community and Instagram, we sort of recently done a post about, who would you like to assist? And I know people are doing that, but this was quite early days. Social media was still relatively new. So you couldn't just DM Errol, could you? You had to pick up a phone.
No, there's no Instagram at this time. Can you imagine?
So how did you get all these details? How did that come about?
I just Googled his salon.
So, and did you get straight through to him then, Ashleigh?
No.
So what? Did you have that guard dog at the front of the reception?
Yeah. Wow. And obviously it's Errol, so he gets a lot of people asking to assist him and things. So when I first phoned up, it was they were really polite to me, and they said that they'll try and get back to me. And then obviously months kind of go past and you kind of can get forgotten. And then I actually ended up going to another show in the September. It was kind of a weekend thing. My mum and I went down. It was actually, ironically, my mum was trying to do stuff to cheer me up because I'd broken up with my ex a few months before. So she was just trying to do stuff to cheer me up. So she was like, "Right, you love Errol Douglas. We'll go see him down in London and we'll make a weekend of it." So we went and saw him again, and they were like, "Oh, if you want some pictures with him at 6:00 before we go for dinner, you can have some pictures." So I was like, "Mum, I need to get my picture with Errol." So my mum's not very good with technology, so she's trying to fumble around taking this picture, and she does it, and then she stops, and I'm looking at her being like, why aren't you taking my picture with Errol?" And then she just starts going, "Errol Douglas, my daughter phoned your salon and you never got back to her." And I'm stood next to him dying inside, like, "Mother, what are you doing to me right now?"
You need a mum like that sometimes, don't you? It sounds like your mum's very shy and reserved. But why did you want to reach out to Errol? What was it you were wanting?
So I knew at the time he was the leader of the Fame team, and my goal was, I'd set myself like little goals. Like by the time I was 25, I wanted to be on the Fame team. I wanted to win certain awards and all these different things. So he was heading up the Fame team at the time, and his photographic work and all of the things that Errol was doing was the stuff that I wanted to give a go and to get involved in. So he was really sweet, gave me his number, and I just made sure he never forgot me again. So I would text him and say hello. And
that really shows you don't be determined if you really want to reach out and get in touch. So you found out about this Fame team, and by the way, listeners, I'll put links in for our interview with Errol. He came on. We had Errol's story.
It's such a lovely story that you did with Errol.
It was brilliant, and I keep promising I am going to bring him back on to the show again. I'll do another 3-hour interview. It is been, but you've done that, and then you, like I say, you arrived on the Fame team. Now I'm going to say this for me: the Fame team, when you were in that team, suddenly it went super cool. I know there's always been great names, but the whole imagery, and I remember looking at you all thinking, you just look like a band.
Oh, thanks.
You did. Was there a guy, Ryan, in there? Was it Ryan?
Ryan Harris, Rebecca Hunt and Isabella Hyde was on my Fame team.
Yeah, well, I mean, a really cool team. So you got in there, Ashleigh, I mean, you must have, what was it what done it for you? What got you there? This girl based in a toaster salon in Northamptonshire.
Do you know, I know some of the judges now, and I've never asked them. For me, I think it was naivety of just doing what I enjoyed. I don't even think I'd get on the Fame team now, and I run the competition now. But I don't think I would be able to do it because I would overthink it. Whereas back then, I was very young and I was naive to a lot of the industry and a lot of how these things worked. And so I just literally went in there being like, this is what I want. And this is the type of hair that I like. And I just think that's all anybody can ever do in a competition. And actually now we overthink stuff so much more because maybe it's because we're saturated with so much, but at that time
it's mental, isn't it? So much has changed in such a short space of time. And it's good. We're going to get into this a bit and about the burnout. In fact, you're leading this along. It's great. I love stories. This is my favorite type of interviews. Thanks. It really is. So you've done the Fame team, done great things for you.
Yeah, it was literally the thing that launched my career. I am obviously this is why I'm still really involved in the fellowship, because I'm so grateful to it. And obviously to Errol, because I say that I wouldn't be where I am without them, but equally my drive and my determination is parallel to that.
Yeah, I mean, a fellowship for British hairdressing, we had Corinne Jackson come on, talk when she was the president, and talked about the fellowship. I'm such a fan of what the fellowship does, because it does exactly, what it's done for you, Ashleigh, isn't it? For young hair talent, and also for seasoned pros to really learn the artistic side of the industry is incredible. And it's obviously done that for you. So it's done a massive amount for you. You've always been very much involved with the fellowship for British hairdressing. But I want you to lead us on the jump from being based in Northamptonshire family salon. Where did the London thing come? What happened here? So basically, like I said before, I actually grew up in Kent and I moved to Northampton when I was 10. So I actually used to be back and forth from London almost every weekend as a kid, with my dad and with my family in general. And London, really, even though I've only lived here now a few years, London's always been my home. It's always been you always have a spiritual home, I think. And whenever I was in London, it was exactly where I knew I needed to be. And it's not for everybody, 100%, but for me, it's where I've always wanted to be. So it was it was where I was trying to lead myself to. So what was the step then for you to go to London on a full-time basis? Did you go and work with Errol?
I didn't actually.
See, I'm amazed by that. I would have thought you'd have gone and worked with Errol.
I know. Everyone just assumes that I worked at his salon. It's just because I worked for him for so many years as his main assistant. So I was back and forth from London assisting him on everything. And then actually, this is a really funny story. The first time I ever assisted him was in Leeds on one of his Night of Passion shows that he was creating. And I had never been up north before. So my dad had bought me a TomTom to drive up north. And I drove past Manchester and phoned my dad, panicked that I'd missed my turn in for Leeds. And he was like, no, Ash, Leeds is further north than Manchester.
Yeah, you're kind of a little bit different sides as well up there, aren't you? You've got the Pennines separating you there.
Oh, yeah. But at 19, I had absolutely no idea about any of that.
I bet you were going into absolute panic mode.
I was petrified, but I made it there. It's fine. But yeah, so I was back and forth from London all the time of work. I'd done 5 seasons of Fashion Week at that point. And I was working on numerous brand projects with a number of different brands. And then really in 2016, I got this offer to go work for this company that were buying up salons. And they were kind of trying to create empire of salons, let's say. And I'd kind of been warned about a couple of weeks before I went to actually work there, that these guys might not have been 100% as nice as they seemed. But I was just very much in the mindset of, well, I've made my decision now and I'm just ready to take on a new challenge. So I left my mum's salon. I went on holiday for a week and then started my new adventure. And I worked for them for about 9 months, maybe a little bit less. And I learned loads, but they were businessmen, and even though they kind of wanted to do all these amazing creative things, I don't think they were ready to build a creative side of their business. So
did it succeed, the business, what they were trying to do?
No, to be honest, I kind of lost touch with them all. I don't think they're around within the industry anymore. I think it lasted maybe a year or so, and then they must have bowed out.
Did that have an effect on you, Ashleigh?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I suppose, when I look back now, it was the first kind of major move that I'd done on my own, not with the safety of my mum's salon. All the amazing things that I'd done up to that point, I would go off and do a photo shoot in New York, and then I'd come back on the Tuesday morning. I'd be doing my weekly blow dries in Toaster. So that grounds you because you have that safety.
Can I just stop you there, Ashleigh? And it's blowing my mind. So you're still in Toaster. You're doing this for this big set, and you're doing stuff for brands. Where do all these opportunities suddenly come from? Because there's lots going on here suddenly for somebody so young. And where's it all coming from? Is it you approaching people, or are they getting in touch with you? What's happening here?
Yeah, a combination of the two, to be honest. I started as an educator for Matrix when I was only 19, because, like I said, when I finished my apprenticeship, I was just eager to learn. So I used to go on every single course in my area and sit at the front and pester people, asking questions all the time. And I think everyone just got sick of me asking questions, so they just asked me to come and be a part of things because it was easier to just instantly give me the information than kind of interrupt classes. So I'd been an educator with Matrix for a number of years, and then obviously being on Fame Team, you meet a lot of people and you connect with a lot of people. And even I am really introverted, so I'm not very good at the whole networking thing.
You amaze me that you say that.
I know, everyone says that. I'll look around at industry events, and you can see certain people that can get networking so spot on, and they flutter around talking to everyone, and they can make everyone feel really special when they're talking to them. And I just don't have that gift. I don't know what to talk to people about on the whole. So I'm naturally an awkward person. So I have to try and really, that's the part of the industry that gives me butterflies more than going out on stage. It's
Thank you
the
for sharing
one-to-one
that, Ashleigh.
interaction.
This is, wonderful for you. So honest for you to share that, because again, people just don't see that. I mean, you, as I said at the start, here you are, Chancellor for the Fellowship for British Hairdressing, ambassador for leading brands, including Davines. People just think, how, this introvert girl. So what is it, that specialness then that's kind of, if I was asking your partner, and love him to bits, Matt Gavin. Yeah. I hope you're still together. I'm saying that.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
He's sat in the living room ignoring me right
big
now.
Matt Gavin. He's brilliant. Everton fan, but we'll forgive him for that. But if I was to say to him, and I said, look, what is Ashleigh's big strengths? What would he say?
Probably my determination and my single-mindedness, and that I'm nice, hopefully.
Okay, and so they're the key attributes that have really helped you get on to where you've sort of gone. So you're doing all this, and sort of back into the story, because it's like a little book. It's nice.
I'm glad.
Yeah, and then I want to get then to, did you work at Jamie Stevens as a salon?
Yes, I did. Yeah. So I started talking to Jamie. So I went kind of like went and had a chat with Errol about kind of, because he's been my mentor all the way through. And I just kind of went back to him and was like, right, I'm at this point now and I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do. And London was still being my goal. And then it was actually, I think it was at the British Hairdressing Awards. There's like a little corner that we all go and dance in. And Jamie and his team dance there. Errol and us lot dance there. And Jamie had been talking to me for years about potentially going to work for him. And I'd never necessarily considered it until that point. And he'd kind of said to me, what are you doing now? Just come and work for me. So after, like a few days after, when everyone has sobered back up, I messaged him and was like, right, let's have a meeting, let's have a chat. And then it kind of went from there.
Right. So you went, so what year are we going to when you went to work for Jamie?
So this was 2017.
Right. And I think you get where I'm leading you here, Ashleigh. Right.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a big part of what, your story, and you've been so brave. I'm watching from a distance, there I am at this time, Hair Club Live, hairdresser. I think we've got How to Cut It starting to go, and I'm always following your journey. And suddenly this voice appears sort of saying you've come away from Jamie Stevens for whatever reason, but there was issues going on in your life. Burnout had happened.
Yeah. So I was working for Jamie, commuting back and forth from Northampton to start with. And then Matt, my partner that you mentioned, he then come to work in London as well. So the two of us were both going back and forth. And then we got to a point where we were like, well, the amount of money we spend on train travel and our mortgage and everything, we might as well just take that leap and move to London. So that's what we did. And it's crazy. You kind of chase this dream all your life. And then when you finally get it, you kind of end up going, is this what I wanted? And you just start to question everything. And you, obviously I am really close to my family, and we had really good, strong friendship group, and you move to London and you're like, okay, so I now need to start from scratch and rebuild and all these different things. So one day you're going to be like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever done. And you're going out after work for drinks and you're getting to enjoy your life, which you weren't doing whilst you were commuting. And then the next day you might be coming home to the flat and thinking, oh, I don't know anybody in this area. I feel really alone. So it's a really strange shift when you move to a big city.
Wow, thank you for sharing. So what effects did this start to have on you?
I think there was a number of things. I started, so when I went to work for Jamie, I was working between his Kensington and his Surrey salon. So I was working between the two salons. I was also doing a lot of global work for Matrix at the time. I was doing a lot of other brand work. I was doing my stuff with the fellowship because I was on the council and running the Project X team. So there was a lot of stuff that I was juggling. That
is a lot of stuff, Ashleigh.
Yeah, and when you reel it off, it sounds like a lot, but at the time, you just kind of power through it. I've worked 6 days. I've always worked 6 days, really, since I was 11. If you think of it, I've worked 6 days a week since I was 11
Hopefully
years old.
Hopefully earning more than a fiver.
Yeah, definitely. That's still probably my pocket money. So I was just always used to working a lot, and I think I looked up when I was younger. I looked up at all these amazing hairdressers, and they would work 6-7 days a week, and they would always say about it's not a job, it's your passion, it's your hobby, and that's kind of what I built my life around. I built my life around work, and and even though it was work, it was my hobby, it's my passion. I absolutely love it. And I'm grateful because I've been able to get myself to this point because of it. But I think I started to hit a point where I was like, okay, maybe this isn't exactly how I thought my life would be, or this isn't what I thought I'd be at.
What was missing in your life? What was it that it wasn't giving you?
I don't know. I think you get to a point where you're running on a treadmill and everything's running past you in a very blurred way. So you're not absorbing anything anymore. You're not actually enjoying it. You're actually just running because you're telling yourself you have to run. So you're not absorbing it and you're not enjoying it. And I kind of got to that point, and I think I'd got to it kind of for a number of years. I would get kind of a form of burnout, which was a lot more physical, where I would completely lose my voice and I'd get exhaustion, but I'd kind of ignore my body. And actually, you can see when I won It Girl for Creative Head, the interview that they did at for me winning Creative Head It Girl at the dinner, I look awful in this interview because that weekend I'd been in Venice to do some celebrity parties hair. I'd flown back, gone straight to the Royal Albert Hall, participated in the alternative hair show visionary competition, and then I'd gone from there to Salon International, and then from Salon International I'd gone straight to this dinner for Creative Head. So that had been my life for years, just jumping from the next thing to the next thing, just so people could see me and knew what I was doing, and to make myself feel fulfilled.
Yeah, I'm listening, absorbed on what you're telling me. And actually I've done some talks of recent times built around success. And one of the big key parts that I talk about, I kind of use people's words from, these interviews that I have the pleasure of doing. And one came from Sophia Hilton, and, she said, you need to just stop and smell the roses and actually appreciate what's going on around you, the garden that you've been nurturing. And it sounds to me like you're just growing your garden really fastly, and it's growing beautifully, but quickly. And it's taken over you almost at this point, which can have quite a devastating effect, can't it, on our body and our stress. And so much of our problems in society now is maybe because we are pushing for so much.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what had happened to me is I'd kind of, by the end of 2017, I'd just come back from working in Milan. And a couple of weeks later, I hit my complete low, and had a full breakdown. And
so when you say a full breakdown here, Ashleigh, what do you mean, full breakdown?
So I had, it's kind of hard to explain. I went into like a pure panic. So I had a number of panic attacks all in one go. And it just, you just end up kind of.
Had you ever experienced panic attacks before?
Not really. I'd experienced different types of mental health throughout my life in different ways, but nothing too extreme. I was quite lucky because my partner Matt, someone in his family suffers with mental health, so he knew exactly what was happening and what was going on straight away. So he knew exactly how to look after me whilst I was kind of going through this, and I actually knew what was happening to me as soon as it started happening, because of that as well. I'm
sorry, because it's very close to me as well, all this. When you say mental health and panic attacks, some people still don't really understand quite what a panic attack is.
Yeah, it can be different in so many people. Like for me, I can't breathe fully, so you're trying to take really kind of your whole body goes really tight, and you're trying to take inhale breath, and then that trying to breathe in and breathe in and breathe in. My body then goes completely numb, and it's almost like I'm not detached. My brain and my body aren't detached with each other anymore. And after that specific episode, because it was the first one, it was the kind of catalyst sort of thing that hit me. You're left numb for weeks and weeks, and you're not fully engaged in what's going on around you after that.
So were you having to carry on with work with all this going on?
Yeah, I went to work the next day. Nobody knew the difference.
How did you feel going into that work the following day? Were you in fear of another panic attack happening in an awkward situation?
Yeah, totally. Even just driving to work at that time, I had to keep opening the windows to make sure that I could take full breaths. And throughout that whole period, I mean, as soon as that kind of happened, I had to really sit back, and I had a lot of long talks with people about what I was going to be doing and how I was going to be looking after myself. Did you share that with many people? Because I know some people that go through, mental health illness, do tend they keep it to themselves. And I know Tom Chapman, who's been on the show, he's doing amazing things for fellas at Lion Barbers Collective. And were you quite open? Being the introvert that you are, self-admitted, were you comfortable to talk to people about this? I didn't really talk to many people about it at the beginning, because I wasn't, to be honest, at the beginning, you kind of end up in a little bit of denial because you're not 100% sure what's going on. And you still automatically assume it's a weakness, especially when I'm as driven as I am. So I'm driven by the fact that I don't like to fail. So as soon as stuff like that happens, you just go, oh my God, I've completely failed my life. And there's a lot you have to work through. I started going to therapy in the January.
What year was this? January?
2018.
Okay.
So really over the Christmas period, I got to kind of take a step back and figure out where I was going and what I was doing. And that's really when, we lived right by Battersea Park. So Matt and I would go for a lot of walks around the park, and just talk about things. And it'd be stuff like, you are running on this treadmill, and then you're going, but I don't know what's at the end of it anymore. Like, the awards that I thought I wanted aren't necessarily the same thing that inspires me nowadays. And so maybe I don't want that. And everything that you kind of, and it's allowing yourself to change as a person as you grow up, because what you want as a 19-year-old to what you want as a 20-something are different things, but I was still chasing the same goals. I hadn't really evolved that very much. So it was kind of like I just needed a reset button. And that's what I gave myself throughout 2018. I was just like, right, I just need to press reset and go.
So what did you do? When you say reset here then, Ashleigh, I want to know what you obviously recognise you've got a lot of things going on. You realising that your goals have changed and maybe it wasn't what you kind of really were hoping. And what was the reset? What was the change for you, pushing forward?
So I kind of realised that I was, from a business perspective, because I've been self-employed alongside employment since my career begun pretty much. So from a business perspective, I looked at myself and was like, right, I'm actually earning more money doing the stuff outside the salon than I am doing the stuff in the salon. And I was still working at that point 5 days a week, as well as doing everything else. So I was like, that's not healthy for me anymore. So I had a chat with Jamie and I explained about my anxiety, and he totally got it. And he, and it was really a hard decision to leave him, seeing as I hadn't been there for a great deal of time. But so I left Jamie's, and I'd kind of told myself, right, this is my year off. And I still worked during that time, obviously. But I just wasn't going to work at the level that I had been, because I needed to figure out exactly what I wanted to be doing. And I told myself if I couldn't afford my rent, I'd just work at the pub down the road just to kind of, because I just needed to figure things out.
I think we've all had those moments actually. Sometimes you just think, can I just walk away from all this and still pay? And you do think those things, well, I'll just go and do a shift in the pub. Yeah.
You just kind of think, well, I'm the type of person that's no matter what, I will get through something. So if it means that I'm going to have to just go get I say ordinary job, as in like a non-industry job, so to speak, just then I'll do that sort of thing. But and then Kai's been my mate in the industry for years, and
Kai Wilson.
we kind of met up, and I had a little bit of a chat with him about how I'd feeling and what had happened, and he said about me going to the social to do some of my clients. So I went. Ironically, I was starting to get worried because I was thinking, I just don't know when I'm going to get time to head over there. And an agency that I work a lot with had messaged me literally a day after, being like, right, we want you to go do Kasabian's hair at the O2. And I was like, oh, amazing, cool. Yeah. So I messaged Kai and was like, mate, are you free on this day before I go to the O2? I'll come see the social. So certain things just happen for reasons.
Yeah. So was this starting to help? And I know there was a part, did you go to India and you started to really connect with yourself, Ashleigh, as well? And, within the whole wellbeing?
So throughout the whole of 2018, I went to therapy on a weekly basis and just started looking at things that I actually enjoyed. And I'm really into, so I'm really quite spiritual, and I'm into meditation, and I go to a lot of meditation circles and full moon meditations and lots of hippie things. But it makes me happy and it connects me with myself and helps me to work through emotions. I also, throughout 2018, I had to go to hospital for a couple of operations. So that sort of thing makes you stop and breathe and rest. And that year, I went to Croatia on my own on holiday. Beautiful and country. It's honestly the best thing I've ever done. It happened by mistake. I was meant to be working out there. And I never ever get to see these countries that I'm working in. I've recently come back from Chicago, and I never got to go to Chicago. And all these people think that it's really exciting to travel the world with work, but you don't get to see very much.
It's hotels and airports, isn't it? And wherever you're doing your seminar.
So because 2018 was my year off, I was like, right, if I'm going to do any work abroad, I'm going to at least tag on a day or so I can see the place. So I'd asked to have my flights changed so that I could go out there for the weekend before to go and see it. And ironically, nobody was able to come with me. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go visit it by myself. I'm used to traveling with work by myself. And then about a week before, my business trip got cancelled because of something with the supplier, and the show ended up being rearranged to the following year. And I was like, oh, okay. And I phoned BA, and they were like, well, you can keep your flights. So I got to have a holiday in Croatia, which was beautiful.
It could be a lot worse. Absolutely stunning. So you've got this going on, and things are going great. You discovered yoga and your peace of mind. Had you kind of stepped back a little bit then at this point, or everything going on in this sort of year or so? Had you sort of said, no, I'm going to start saying no to a few jobs here, not push myself
that was
so
totally
much?
it. I listen to a lot of wellbeing podcasts. I listen to a lot of Oprah, and she has a really good one where she talks about saying no a lot. And I was just like, that's what I would do is, before I would say yes, because I would normally, a brand would come to me or someone would come to me needing something, and you instantly want to make them happy with that, and you don't think whether you want to do it or not. And there'd be quite a lot of times, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who will listen to this and they'll be like, yeah, I do that too. You say yes, and then the day before you're about to do it, you go, oh my God, why have I done this? Why did I say yes to this?
Yeah. I think we all recognise that one.
And I was just like, right, so when someone would come to me wanting something, I would just have to think, right, is this something that I really want to do? Is it something I feel that is going to be beneficial for the greater good or for myself? Or is it something I feel like I'm saying yes to either please them or to feed my ego? And if it was one of those two things and it didn't resonate with me, I had to say no to them. And the thing, as soon as you start saying no to people, you start realizing the stuff that you actually enjoy doing. And people will constantly ask you to do stuff, and you'll say yes all the time. And then they'll come back and ask you for more. And you're like, why are you asking me for more? And it's because you've allowed them to do that. By saying yes, you've allowed them to constantly come back to you all the time.
100%.
And it's fine. Like in the beginning of your career, you need that. You need to be saying yes to every opportunity, because nowadays our industry is saturated with so many amazing young up and coming people. And honestly, even though I think the year that I was on Fame Team was the year Instagram kind of came about. But at that point, there was a lot of us all kind of striving for the same thing and to kind of make it in the industry. So if someone had come to me asking for me, I had to say yes, because they wouldn't come to me again. They'd go to somebody else.
Yeah, you've got to take that opportunity at the time, haven't you?
Yeah. So I wouldn't change that for the world. And actually now I wouldn't even change my breakdown. I would still have worked my arse off like I did to that point.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love you sharing this. This is so inspirational, really, Ashleigh. I think to, get this real insight into it. And, let's not forget, you are an incredible hairdresser. And, I think to just suddenly say, right, okay, I'm struggling here. I need to take time, and you've done that, and you listen. By the way, you mentioned opera, but I'm going to just say, have you listened to Eric Tolle? Have you ever heard of?
No, I haven't.
Right, check that one out. I think you'll like that. It's very, very good. It's about the now, and I think you'll get it. He does it with opera. Yeah. Okay, the New World Beginnings or something along those lines. Just search it out, and you'll love it. Okay, so you've kind of working. You're still working. You haven't disappeared. You're still there, and then suddenly, it seems to me like Ashleigh's coming back again. There's this presence, starting to get involved, a bit more industry stuff going on. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, even in my year off, I was still doing stuff. I was still very active as an ambassador for different brands, and I was still actively doing global work and photo shoots and things like that. I was just very, very specific with where I put my energy, because at that time I was still dealing with panic attacks. And I mean, I remember a few months into that year, I was working on The Voice, and I had a panic attack on my drive home, and it's like half 11 at night or something, because you finish really late. And I'd have to ring Matt and be like, Matt, I'm driving, I'm having a panic attack, I need you to talk to me. Right. And he's telling me to pull over, and I'm like, no, if I pull over, you'll have to come and get me. So he would have to calm me down whilst I was driving. Otherwise I would never have got home. So throughout that year, I'm still dealing with all of that whilst doing the work that I was doing. So I was just having to make sure that if I did a day's work, I then had a day to rest afterwards. And it was just having to kind of find a new normal, really, especially for someone that's on the go all the time. To then be made to rest is a really new thing you have to teach yourself.
And you've done that so well. And let's kind of come into the now. So you've reset yourself, Ashleigh.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now in yourself? I mean, where are you at right now in your mindset?
Yeah, good, thank you. Like you mentioned India. So in 2019, like last year, it feels like so long ago.
That's because you're enjoying it.
Yeah. At the beginning of 2019, I was like, right, I'm going to like immerse myself back into kind of real life, so to speak, but I need to kind of start the year off as I mean to go on. So I did a 3-week trip to India. The last week was on a retreat, and it was an energy retreat. So you're working with your energy within. And that's amazing. And I kicked off the year in the way that I needed to. I've moved on from therapy, and I have a mindset coach now, and she's brilliant. So I check in with her every 2 weeks. Just like, I've been taught that basically you look after yourself and your mindset whilst you're doing well, ready for when you're not. Because when you're not doing very well, then there's no point in trying to fix yourself at that point, because you've just got to kind of rest, allow the emotions to wash through you, accept everything that's happening at that moment, so that when you're feeling better again, you can build yourself back up. And you can only ever drop as low as your highest peak. So whilst you're feeling good, that's when you do all the work. That's when you build on your tools, and that's when you kind of make sure that you're doing well, for those moments that you're not doing so well. And it's nice because over that time, kind of from the end of 2017 to now, I've been able to really see that I would have like dark days, and back then they would go on for weeks and months and all sorts, and gradually there'd just be perhaps a couple a week, and now they're very few and far between, which is lovely.
And I always say this, and again, that person very close to me, who, you know, has had to deal with mental health illness, they get better, but they never quite go, do they? Actually, it can surface again, can't they?
Definitely.
So it's making sure that you do all the right things, like you're doing your well-being, keeping you connected, you know, grounded to everywhere you are, and not push yourself too hard.
Yeah, my mindset coach, she'll love me for saying this. She always tells me to look after future Ashleigh. So when I'm feeling good, that's when I'm looking after myself within the future. And I find myself doing really stupid things. I'll be too tired one evening. I'll be like, sorry, future Ashleigh, I'm just going to bed. I'm not going to do anything.
I think you need to, though. I think that's you've got to listen to your body, haven't you? And
yeah, definitely.
I think it's so good in what you're sharing. I think it's so good for our listeners listening, because I would imagine there's a lot of, again, not just newbies, seasoned pros who maybe still want it, and they're pushing themselves so hard that actually you've got to work out why you're doing it for.
Yeah, I think that's really what I learn is there's nothing wrong with just taking a step back and readjusting. You'd do it in a business. You would do it in a relationship. You would take moments where you go, right, where is this going? And I think our industry is so driven on passion and love, and we're very emotional beings as hairdressers in general. So it's easy to get swept up in the love for our craft.
Yeah, no, 100% on that. I think it's, you know, we're fragile, but then we're very human people. I think we're very connected. I think we're quite spiritual as well as a group of people. So sort of bring it more towards the sort of where we are now with you, Ashleigh, because I'm keen to get to where you are now. So quite a lot's been happening. You said you're in a good place. You have to deal with things. And here we are, doing this interview, April, Good Friday, 2020, if you're listening in 2025. Here we are, the sun's shining. Where are you now? What's going on for you right now? You talk us the things that you're doing, and just making me feel good that you're not pushing yourself too hard again.
Well, right now I'm sat on my bed talking to you with my cats.
Isolation, yeah. I saw that view, by the way. You shared it on the How to Cut It community. I love that. Everybody shared their window view, and I saw yours. It looked lovely. I saw the city skyline. You're in Hackney, aren't you? London. Yeah,
I live in Hackney Wick at the moment, and overlooking the Olympic Park. It's really nice.
Yeah, God, before it all became fashion. Well, my beloved team. When I was first going to West Ham, may I tell you, Ashleigh, it wasn't like it is now, full of hipsters. It was. My dad grew up in Hackney, so by the margin, nice. Yeah, he did. But again, different place to what it is now. So you're overlooking that. We started off the show, you know, where you are right now. So you're a freelance hairstylist based out of where?
So I'm a freelance hairstylist. I look after clients probably up maximum a handful of days a month. Sometimes it's a little bit less if I'm traveling around a lot. And the majority of the time I'm working out of the social, which actually is about 15 minutes from me now, which is really nice. And then once a month I work out of Hunter Collective. So again, this year, when every single year, I now just kind of review my well-being and what I'm doing and where I'm at.
Reset. I love that word, reset.
Yeah, you just have to have that little pause. You have your iPhone makes you do it all the time, doesn't it? Like it'll freeze and you have to restart it.
That's a very good way of putting it. Yeah.
And that's what we need to do with our lives sometimes. We just need to go, right, okay, I'm just going to take a few deep breaths, reset, and figure out.
Kind of where we are now is pretty good for that, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
I know not in the circumstances that we all want, but yeah, it is all helping us. I think this is, look, take away all the horrible suffering that so many people are experiencing, but it can be quite a positive place where we're at right now. Yeah,
I mean, I'm one of the lucky ones that's still getting to do a lot of work. But I mean, I'm still very jealous of all of those people making banana bread.
I'm jealous of the people eating it.
Maybe that's what I'm jealous of, Dom. But yeah, so yeah, I'm reading lots, and I've kind of balanced out my downtime. I don't feel like you can have balance in your life. And that sounds really silly from someone that says that they reset their life a lot and they consider everything. And I'm a true Libra and I like balance. But when people try and say work-life balance and all of that sort of thing, I don't feel like that's something. That's just something. Another thing people try to accomplish.
Yeah. Do you know? As you're saying that, do you know who you remind me of? As you're saying that.
Who?
Tom Connell. He said in my very first set, it was brilliant. And again, I use that in my talks. He talks about being obsessed. He doesn't believe, if you have to have an element of obsession to really get, and I get it. People tell me that you don't. I don't believe it. You do. But the most important part, what comes out of what you're saying, is just stop. Every so often, let that obsession just, and also the other big thing that's coming out of what you're saying is say no. That's a big lesson. That's hard, but that's important. So you're doing that, and your ambassador role now with Davines, which that must really be incredibly exciting. That hasn't been that long, has it?
No, from the beginning of this year officially. Wow. Which is really cool. Yeah, I think when I'm doing my little resets, I'm just kind of looking at my life and where it's going and what I'm passionate about. And I think work-wise, that was the last thing that wasn't necessarily in line with everything else. So moving over to work with Tom, who you mentioned, he's incredible and I've admired his work for so long.
Yeah, big fan of Tom.
So getting to work closely with him, doing all the colour work is really exciting, and working with someone that's really like-minded and quite conceptual, and it kind of sparks the fire back
I've got to say, I think full marks Davines. I think that's a fantastic pairing. Tom Connell, actually really, really special. I think you bang on, really good. Also, I want to give a shout out as well to hair.com. You do with Craig.
Yeah, so because you came and helped us launch it to the industry.
I did. It was brilliant.
Thank you for that
setting, by the way, was great. The polar bear.
Oh, yeah. It's one of my favourite places in London.
Yeah. Do you know, I've got that marked down as well as a venue for a future event. But you done that so well. I thought how you delivered for the press, because it was a press, the launch of it, and the way that you had the models come in and the balloons being, it was really dramatic in a really tight space, but so tastefully done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Craig and I worked really hard on that, and the team just executed it so amazingly. They're really awesome.
I do want to do an interview one point just about hair.com, because it's a whole show in itself.
Yeah, we'd love that.
But you're an artistic team effectively, aren't you? An independent art team.
Completely brand neutral, independent artistic team with people from all over. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And also, I've got to, before we sort of head into Dom's last five and where to find out a little bit more about you, because this is an epic interview, by the way. you also, what a massive role for you, Chancellor for the Fellowship of British Hairdressing.
How have we not touched on this?
Well,
I'm sorry,
I wanted to learn about. We could have done an interview about that, but everybody knows we do some amazing shout outs for the Fellowship. So yeah, we're always a big supporter of it. I keep saying I've got to get involved. I never ever get doing. They've been in touch with me numerous times that I must do that this year. Anyway, get involved. How is it for
I'll
you?
Pester you.
You can pester me. Yeah, you keep me pestering, and I'd love to be a supporter of it because it's great. So. Very quickly, again, we could do another show on this one in itself.
Yeah.
Your role, how did that come about and what does it involve?
So I become Chancellor last year. I was on the Chancellery. So I've been part of the Fellowship for so many years, and I got myself onto the council, and I think I was the youngest person to be on council. I'm for sure the youngest Chancellor, I reckon.
You don't look like what you'd imagine a Chancellor to look like. It sounds very grown up and sensible.
I know. My mates take the piss out of me.
Yeah. Chancellor, it's great. But look, it's a fantastic role. And, you know, I think anybody that's interested in the Fellowship, then, yeah, do get in touch with them. We'll put links in there. Also, yeah, Karina Jackson talks about the Fellowship. We've had Jordana on talk about the Fame team. So lots of Errol and you. So, yeah, check out. And I'm sure you'd love to, you know, point people in the right direction if they're keen on becoming part of the Fellowship. All right. So, look, life's feeling good now, Ashleigh. You've got some great things going. You sound lovely and balanced, really nice. Matt's there hanging out in the living room during this isolation, sun shining. Where can we find out more if people want to get in touch with you? Do you do sort of independent educational work as well? Any of that stuff?
Yeah, because like I said, I'm totally freelance. So I do a lot of stuff between myself, the brand work and hair.com art team. So the main place, to be honest, to check me out is my Instagram, Ashleigh Hodges Hair.
Okay, Ashleigh Hodges Hair, all right?
Yeah.
And we'll put all your links in there. I know you've got a link tree on your Instagram as well, which takes you off. And we'll put links for Fellowship, hair.com listeners. Don't worry if we don't catch them right now. Just go and check out the show notes, which I'll give you the info to at the end. Now, this has been, I say it all the time, but this really is a lovely interview. It's a long one as well, which is a very, very good sign, Ashleigh, which time has just flown
thanks, Dom.
by.
Sorry, I hope people listen to the end.
I tell you. Well, do you know that's the beauty of these podcasts, though? And you know that as well. You can stop and then come back to them. And that's why I never worry about time. I'm not somebody who sits here thinking, well, we've got to do this in 45 minutes. I go with the content, and you know, if it's good, it's enjoyable, we run with it. And that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm just not that worried by it. You can press stop and come back to it. I do that all the time with podcasts. And
I go back and re-listen to things. And sometimes I'll just re-listen to parts of podcasts as well.
Yeah, you don't have to be religiously go all the way through. It's take what you want. But these are great. I'm really trying to connect again with the stories. I love stories behind people. And most popular one was Noel Colgan, actually, who's probably one of the least famous hairdressers that we had at the time. And but his profile's becoming huge again, but his story was great and really good. And I've just loved this one, and because these are my favourite, I think, stories, and learning the people. I like the ups and the downs. It's real kind of worry about. But anyway, sorry listeners, I'm adding more time onto the podcast. But hey, we always say, I say to our guest listeners, by the way, before we come on, I say, just think of it as two mates sat down in either having some lovely tea or in a boozer, one way or the other, and we have a nice conversation. That's how we always like it to go. So we've learnt your story. You're doing amazing. One top takeaway for our listeners from your experiences in hairdressing.
My biggest thing that I would tell everybody is just to work hard and be nice. And if you want to try and build your career in any aspect of the industry, that will get you really far.
Perfect. That's top takeaway. Hey, gosh, who needs a Chinese takeaway when you got a takeaway like that? Brilliant. Okay, so Dom's last 5 questions, Ashleigh, and this is where we get to know about you away from the hair industry. But sometimes these questions still link into the hair industry because we're not obsessed by it. But okay, question 1: away from work, how do you best like to spend your time?
I read avidly and I do a lot of yoga.
Nice. Question 2: what's the one song that makes you jump up and Matt hit the dance floor?
The one, I don't know. There's so many songs. I mean, anything by Queens of the Stone Age.
Question 3: how are you best spending your time in isolation?
If I'm not doing lives for Davines or the fellowship, I am reading a lot, cooking a lot, and running up the canal every couple of days when I'm allowed out.
And question 4, what was the last big treat you gave to yourself?
I was trying to think of this. I don't know. I treat myself all the time, Dom.
You're a big spender.
So I can't... Yeah, I mean, I have very lovely facials on a regular basis, and if there's something that I want, then I buy it for myself. I don't know. I suppose
life is one big treat,
sense.
shall we just say?
Yeah, life is one big treat.
Absolutely. So question 5, and our last question, tell us one more thing that we really need to know about Ashleigh Hodges.
I'm passionate about people, and I'm passionate about our world and sustainability. And I suppose I'm on a one-woman mission to save the world in however I can.
Well, that's a great answer. Hey, great answer. Thank you so much, Ashleigh. It's been a good hour plus in your company, and I knew it was going to be one. I was really looking forward to this, and we've been trying to get this done for a little while. And you have not disappointed me. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today.
My pleasure, Dom. I'm glad I was worth waiting for. I'm sorry I kept you waiting.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you once more then to Ashleigh Hodges for coming on to today's podcast. I think what we can take from this is to know when to stop. It's great wanting to achieve. We all have that, and it's good. It's good to be obsessed about what we do, because that obsession, as we said in that podcast, can really help you get to that place in the industry where you want to be. But know why you want to get there. What is it that you really want? And I think that's what you've got to take from this podcast today from Ashleigh, and know when to stop, appreciate what you've got, and then know when to move on again. Assess where you are. Hit that reset button. Really great podcast. Love talking to Ashleigh. And as we said, I've been following Ashleigh for such a long time. Now, we mentioned a lot of links in there, and there's that link that we spoke about right at the start of the podcast with a video with Ashleigh. It was taken around about 6 years ago. So go and check that video out. You'll love to see it. And you can find all these links as well as some bits on Ashleigh by following this link to our show notes, which is www.howtocut.it/EP147. Now, we bring you these podcasts every Monday. Throughout isolation, I hope they're being great company for you. It's a real good time to connect with all our episodes that we've brought you. So many great guests, and we do this every Monday morning. Now, the best way to make sure that you never miss any of our podcast episodes that we bring you is to subscribe on your usual podcast providers. And once you do that, you'll get a notification of when our episodes go live. Which leads me on to next Monday, because we are going to be joined by an absolute icon in the industry, Bernard Connolly, fashion stylist. This man, I cannot wait. Who knows what's going to be coming our way in this interview? I think we're going to have a lot of fun. But actually, I want to get deep into Bernard's story to learn about how he has become such an icon in British hairdressing for his fashion stylist. Extrovert personality is going to be a whole lot of fun. Now, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please do leave us a rating and a review. They help us to really understand what you like about the show. It gives other people an opportunity to know what they can expect from these podcasts. So please do go and do those rating and reviews. They are so appreciated. And from time to time, I will give shout outs to you. And if you are loving the podcast, then please do share some of your favorite episodes in your How to Cut It Instagram stories. They're great. It lets people know what you are loving and what you are really inspired by. And it may just help get them inspired in the hair industry too. Also, I just want to give a shout out. If you're not part of the How to Cut It community, do come and be a part of this. We're on Facebook. Again, I'll put a link in the show notes for you so you can just go straight to it. Come and add yourself to the group. Would love to welcome you in. We've got lots happening on that, which we will be revealing very soon. I feel like for months I've been holding back on what I want to tell you. Well, we're going to be revealing it all very soon. And the best way you're going to hear about that is being part of the community. If you want to follow us on any of our social media platforms, we're there. Just search How to Cut It. Love to hear from you. Give us a DM on Instagram. I'm always there. Love to hear your messages, ideas, If you feel you've got something to add to our show going in the future, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. So I hope that this isolation is treating you well. I hope you're getting inspired and feeling positive and starting to feel ready for that call for action of getting back in to your job. It won't be far off, I hope, and I'm sure when we do, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So until next Monday, peace, love and smiles all the way. Goodbye.
How to Cut It in the Hairdressing Industry Podcast. Taking your hairdressing and barbering careers